Oh, we've got lots of people wanting to learn the form tonight. Okay, we are on the correct audio. Yes, recording. Oh, that thing. I need to change that thing. Yeah, see, look, watch this. I only just. What are you laughing at? Oh, no, I didn't mean watch that. Like, look how I can unzip my top. The thing coming next. That was just. So, you can't hear me when I clap like that, can you? It's sort of like it goes away, it muffles it. But when you turn off sound compression, now you can hear me clap. I was so annoyed with doing live things for quite some time because I didn't realize. I thought it was just the quality, the streaming quality or something, but it's actually because all the streaming, the video calling things are designed to muffle anything else other than your voice. So any other sounds you make, you got music playing in the background, or you make a sound, you stomp on the floor, it muffles it all out. But if you take away the sound isolation of the voice, then you can hear everything. So that works really well. Right, we've got a good group of people tonight. Hello. What have we got there? We've got France, we've got Britain, we've got lots of Britain actually. Too many Brits in here. What is this? Oh my goodness. What we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 people in this country.
Yes.
Fantastic. We are currently winning.
Yes.
And then we got Sweden and France and Robert. Oh, we've got 2 Roberts now.
Yeah.
I was like, hang on, isn't he already up?
My computer was really slow. So I
Okay.
turned the phone on. Now I can't figure out how to turn the phone off. Oh, here we go.
And who's this 44756?
Yeah.
You look familiar. Do I know you?
No, you don't. No. But I've bought some of your videos and stuff.
Oh my goodness, you're British as well.
I'm British, but I live in Luxembourg.
Oh, there we go. Okay. At least.
Yeah, so I ain't put my name in yet, so that's why you've got 44756.
Okay. Oh, you're living over in Luxembourg.
Yeah.
We liked Luxembourg, didn't we? Yeah, we went to Luxembourg. We thought that was a cool place.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice and quiet and relaxed.
Yeah. So you've trained our stuff before, have you?
About 20 years ago.
Okay.
Done it for about a year.
Yeah.
And the man who was teaching it, he left and we just didn't find another class, and then I just fell away from it. But
Okay.
I've always wanted to get back into it.
Yeah.
And once I see this was online, I thought I'm going to give it a go.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty then.
Yeah,
All right.
so I
Well,
really
we're
enjoyed it.
going to get started tonight on just starting from scratch Yang Lu Chan's form, Yang Lu Chan's slow Tai Chi form. In case you weren't aware, the Tuesday night class was for the small Sansao, so everyone was following that as well. So we've got 2 instructional classes. So now we're going to start the slow form. I think most of you have done a bit of that before. You probably would have done a bit of this form back then, 20 years ago. So it's just maybe it'll look a little bit familiar. And everyone else has dabbled in it at least to some extent. Oh, except for Sanya. Sanya, this will be new for you. But as I say, a lot of the principles are the same as what we did in the small Sansao the other day. So, without any more adduing, adieu to you, and you. Sorry, we watch The Sound of Music at Christmas time. Oh, you're on camera now, darling.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, hang on. I've got to go big screen. Oh, no. Gabby just woke up. All right, there we go. Let's do some training. All right, so we'll just start moving first. Just make sure our bodies are nice and warm and limber before we start learning the form. We'll see how much we can learn tonight. We'll at least learn to this posture here. Maybe we'll put the first step in and coming into pong. Pong? Pong. Ying Tong to Lai Po. Okay, let's just move our bodies a little bit just to get warmed up. It's the end of the day, so you should feel relatively warm anyway, but we'll just do a small warm up. Oh, well, actually, for Kate, you've probably just woken up, haven't you? Kate's over in New Zealand. So we're bending the body, bending the spine all the way back, looking up, pulling the shoulders and palms back, sticking your tailbone up, so arching the spine as far back that way as you can, and then breathing out and curling yourself up into a ball. In breath. Out breath. In breath. Out breath. In breath. Out breath. Really make sure when you do the in breath and pull your shoulders back, really squeeze, pinch your shoulder blades back. But when they're pinching backwards, if you look at my shoulders now, they're pinching back, but they're pinching back and down. Don't allow them to go up like this. So don't pinch up and back, pinch down and back. So you're drawing those scapula down into your rib cage. Come back to a neutral position. Hinge forward from the hips. Sinking down, just stretching through your hamstrings a little bit. Relaxing your body down. Then relax your spine. Let it hang. And then straighten your spine. Engaging your gluteus maximus. And then relax again. Straighten it up again. Relax again. Roll your spine up. Breathing in. Just opening and relaxing. Lift your hands out to the sides. Side and back. So you're pinching your shoulder blades together and lifting your hands out to the sides. Standing right up onto the balls of your feet, stretching like you're trying to reach the ceiling, really as tall as you possibly can. Chest is lifted up, tailbone is tucked under, and then drop back into your heels as you breathe out. Same again, lift it up, 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 up in a balloon. And down. One more. And down. Let's open up the hips a little. Drop into a forward lunge. Just as large a lunge as feels comfortable for you. Just wriggle. Stand in your lunge and wriggle around. Wriggle your body around. Open and close that back hip. Push your weight forward, sink your weight back. Pressing your heel of that rear foot into the ground and pointing the toe onto the ball of the foot. Just moving, opening and closing the waist. Feeling that heat come through your legs. Switch sides and do the same thing on the other side. Just getting everything. Notice the ankle moving at the back there. You're twisting and rolling around that ankle. This hip here is being stretched and moved around. Okay. Like so. Elbow to knee. Stand back up. other elbow to other knee. Stand back up. You should feel your glutes engaged. Feeling your glutes, feeling your hamstrings, all the posterior chain engaging. Your other arm can sweep out to the rear and pinch that shoulder blade back. So one shoulder blade will be coming forward, wrapping around the front of the rib cage. The other will be pulling towards the rear. Back up and down. Back up and down. Back up and down. Back up and down. Keep in mind, all of these movements that we're doing as a warm-up, they're all getting your body ready for postures in your Tai Chi. And potentially in your Bagua as well, if you're doing Bagua. With warm-ups, I tend to do a mixture of Tai Chi and Bagua stuff. Okay, so we're just going to take that one a little bit further tonight. We've done that throughout the week, so most people should be familiar with that. I'm going to take that one step further. I'm going to face the same direction as you so you don't get confused with which way we're going. Okay, all you're going to do this time is, from that position, you're going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my left elbow to my right knee, and I'm going to bring my weight forward into that right leg, just like we've been doing. But before I do it, I'm going to pivot on both the balls of my feet, like that. My front foot, the one I'm going into here, my right leg, has pivoted about 135 degrees. Okay, so I'm facing the front wall here. There's the 90 degrees, and then I'm going to the corner. That foot is facing out to that rear corner. Okay, the rear leg, there's only one place that can face. It just turn it accordingly to where it feels like it wants to be in accordance to the front leg, which is going to be roughly so that the feet are pointed 90 degrees from each other. So that rear foot would be here to the corner and this foot would be here to the corner. But you don't really have to think about that back foot. If you just think about the front foot as pivoting to the corner, the rear foot kind of does the right thing. It just sits there in its correct spot. Notice the rear foot is on the ball of the foot, whereas the front foot, I've put my heel back down. So I pivot on the balls of the feet, but when my foot gets to the position, I put the heel back on the floor. So when I actually sit down, I squat into that position, I've got the weight back in the heel. So nothing too fancy to begin with, just pivot, and then from this position, touch the knee. Stand back up, pivot back to center. Pivot the other way, exactly the same movement, 135-degree twist in that front leg. Drop the knee to the elbow. The weight is dominantly in the front leg. Maybe 10 to 20% of the weight is in that back foot. Stand back up, pivot. Pivot, drop, stand up, back to center. Pivot, drop. You'll feel it much more in the glute now because you've got that twist happening as you're going down. If you're finding this too difficult, of course, then your level of fitness isn't quite there yet. Just keep doing that first one that we were doing. And that's the general rule throughout class. If ever we go, here's the next step of any exercise we're doing, but you're still feeling like, oh, hang on, this first one's still really difficult for me, well, it's probably best for you to keep practicing that first step for a little bit longer. Okay, now we won't do any more steps from there today. There are a few more steps to make that more difficult and to twist your body a little bit more. We'll just do one other thing. We'll go down. So same thing, pivot, drop the knee to the elbow, drop your knee onto the floor. So that knee's dropped onto the floor. And then put your bum down and just fold into the floor, like so. You've got your knee in front of you. You're going to take that knee and hug it into your chest. Straighten up your spine. So you're trying to forwardly tilt your pelvis as you're in this position. So in other words, don't round your body. You won't get any stretch there like that. You need to straighten up your body to bring that stretch into that glute. Okay? and I'm turning my body towards the leg. Now, coming up out of this, you might find a little bit difficult. A lot of you have been doing training for a long time, so I'll show you how to come up properly. If you can't manage it, just put your hands on the ground and help yourself to get back up, kind of thing. But if you can, from that position, you're going to push your weight forward. You're going to come up exactly how you went down. Push your weight into your right leg, and then pivot back to the top. Go down the other side, pivot, elbow to knee, drop the knee, curl your body down into the ground so your legs just fold into each other as you sit. Hug that knee. Same thing again, just untwist your body, back up to the top. Okay. So that's postures, that's movements, getting your hips ready, getting your knees, getting your muscles ready for postures such as in your Taiji form, called sitting like a mandarin duck, where we go down like this. That's the posture. And then we come up. We take a kick and carry on. Or in your Bagua form, the Bagua version is a little bit more like that end bit that we just did, and that comes from here, like so, and you pivot down, like so, and then you pivot back up and around. Carry on like that. So again, we're doing simplified versions of these difficult, physically difficult postures. The rule of your Taiji, here's a really good rule to take away with you. When you learn a posture in a Taiji form, you should already know how to do it before you learn it. As in any of the difficult moves, maybe not these kind of moves like we're going to learn tonight, because they're so simple anyway, and physically simple, as in they're not physically demanding on your body, but the ones that involve strength, flexibility, really intense balance, anything like that, you want to say, okay, right, warm-ups. We're doing this movement. Just a simple side lunge, learning that movement as a nice exercise to warm you up in the morning before you do your class. It's very simple. Just stand with your feet like that, turn one foot out, squat down, come back up, turn your foot. Really, really simple, but it strengthens all the right bits. Then when you come to your form, so, oh, okay, I can now focus on what the hands are doing, what the center is doing, what the breath is doing, and not worry about the legs, because I already know how to do that. You come to that posture and you're like, oh, okay, that's just the same as we do in the warm-ups. So I've got that. I can focus on this. But most people, they come to that posture and they're like, first time ever trying to do it, oh, I've got to, oh, hang on. I've got to do this, and well, I've got to move this hand, and what? I've got to do this, and I've got to breathe. You can't learn all of that together. So, yeah, all of that stuff should be done in one way before you even learn it. You should have been doing it for a year before you get to that point in the form. Okay, so we're going to start the Taiji form tonight. Darling, could I have a glass of water, please? Okay. So, as I said, we're starting from scratch. Basic form. That's what we're aiming to learn tonight. If we have time, maybe I'll take that next step. Thank you. But we'll see how we go. Okay. Hang on one second, guys. I'm just going to tilt this down just a fraction so that I can come closer to the screen. Get my feet in. That's better. Okay, that should look good. Right, you can come in here behind me if you want, Fran. Fran's learning the Taiji form officially now. She's learnt it here and there at workshops throughout the years and done training with me quite a lot, but she's now officially learning again from scratch, making sure she's not got any holes in her form. Okay. The form, the slow form, we're starting with just the physical coordination of the movements, okay? So you've all done some breath work, some meditation, some qigong, things like that. When we first start learning the form, depending on the student who you are, sometimes, well, see, you should have already been doing a little bit of qigong before you even start learning the form. Like I was saying about the physical movements, being that you should strengthen those muscles before trying to do those postures in your form. We should have already been doing some kind of very simple breathing exercises for a few weeks before starting the Taiji form, because the Taiji form is a more complex qigong compared to some of the more simple, repetitive or static qigongs. So yeah, I'm not teaching you from, you know, absolutely nothing, okay? I'm assuming you at least have the basic concept of soft, calm breathing and centering your body, that kind of thing, okay? So we start the form with the feet at about shoulder width and the toes pointing straight forward, okay? Make sure your toes aren't turned out like this. The body is upright and vertical. The knees are just very slightly softened. They're not bent down at all, but don't lock the knees, of course. They're just slightly softened. The chin is lightly tucked in to lift up the crown of your head, so it's making you as tall as possible. You're standing at your tallest point at this stage. The whole spine is just very relaxed and neutral. It's got a natural little curve to it down through your lower back, because the curve only goes away when you bend the knees. If you've seen, you know, standing qigong and things like that, where we bend the knees, when the knees bend, pelvis, which has a curve in it, follows. It sinks down if your back is relaxed. But when you're standing upright with your knees straight, there will be a natural curve there. So the physical movements of the Taiji form is the primary thing we're going to be covering tonight. Again, depending on how much time we have, I may talk a bit more about the breathing and being soft and the internal aspects, but the first things first is the physical coordination of your arms, your legs, and your center. Starting with the palms, yang. In case you don't know, that's a yang palm, that's a yin palm. Just a very basic understanding of that. Your palms are yang, and the palms are parallel to the floor, like you have your palms on a table in front of you. Now imagine that table is lifting up, and it's lifting your palms up. So notice that the palms are staying parallel to the floor. And then you push that table back into the floor again. By keeping your palms parallel to the floor, as you lift them up to shoulder height, so it's your shoulder joint creating this movement, but by keeping them parallel with the floor, you're automatically creating perfect timing harmonization between your shoulders and your wrists, okay? Eventually, the goal is that all your joints, your entire body, will move with perfect flow and harmony. This is once we start feeling our internal energy and the muscles and joints in the body flow along with that, connecting everything up. So everything moves in total symmetry. But for now, if you're a beginner, we can't expect you to move every joint in your body with perfect harmony. So what we want is to at least feel the sensation of a few joints working in perfect harmony. In this case, it's just the shoulders and the wrists. So because I'm keeping my palms parallel to the floor, it means that my wrists are in a constant state of change when the shoulders are moving. Rather than what a lot of people do as a mistake, they turn their wrists too early, you see? Now my wrists are yin all the way up. Then they change the hands on the top. Now the wrist is not moving, you see. The shoulder joint's moving, but the wrist joint is not moving. So it's a dead hand. It's disconnected. So my palms stay parallel to the floor. I'm breathing in. That's pretty obvious. You're breathing in as you're lifting up. Nice, big, deep inhalation. And then you're breathing out all the way down. Your movement should be as slow as your breath, okay? So try to breathe as slowly as you can. This is a general rule throughout the form for beginner level. But as slow as you can means as slow as you can without feeling out of breath. So if you breathe really slowly, you probably get 2 or 3 breaths in and then you feel like you need to take a gasp of air. So that's counterproductive. That's not going to help you. Gradually with time, of course, your lung capacity will increase and you will be able to breathe slower, therefore slowing down the form even further. The speed at which I'm doing it right now should suit most people when they're starting. Inhalation. Exhalation. Notice how the speed of the movement is not constant. It's swooshing up. See how it slows down at the top and then speeds up a little bit through the middle and then centers down towards the bottom. But don't think about speeding it up and slowing it down. Feel your breath. When you breathe in, and then the out breath comes, doesn't it? When your body is relaxed, you don't breathe. That's very unnatural breathing, unless you're running or something like that. So when you breathe very naturally, you breathe in, you get to the top of that breath and it just kind of lingers at the top for a moment before it starts to breathe out again. And then same on the out breath. You breathe out, you kind of linger on the bottom of that breath just for a moment in that settled position before you inhale again. So your movements in the form are going to represent that throughout the whole Taiji form. So never should your Taiji form look like it's one constant speed. Taiji form is a Qigong. It is a martial arts Qigong, so the movements are also martial applications when sped up and done slightly differently. Obviously you don't stand here like this relaxed when you fight someone. The movements are slightly different when you perform them as a fighting technique. But the principles of how to structure the body, how to move from the center, how to connect your limbs, how to generate force through the body, all of these things come from the fighting arts. So we need to understand the fighting principles. You don't have to become a fighter to understand Taiji. You don't have to spar and really, properly fight. It's beneficial if you do, but maybe you're a bit older in years, you don't want to get punched in the head anymore. So you don't have to, but you need to at least understand it, which is why we do things like the small san sao. Because it's a form still. It can be done with a partner, but it's still a set pattern. It's a choreographed pattern, which means you're not going to take any punches to the head or anything like that. But it still allows you to understand the movement of fighting without actually fighting. So you get all the health benefits. Also the energetical benefits of the martial art. How to bring up that yang force through the body when it's needed. Okay, back to a few physical structural things here with this first move. As you lift the hands up, you may not notice, but I'll tell you so you can notice, they're coming in just a tiny bit. Notice they're a little bit closer together than they were down the bottom. Then as they get to the top, on that little moment where your breath is lingering at the top before you breathe out, your hands are just going to, see they crest the top before they sink down, creating a circle. So your palms in Taiji never come back on the exact same line they went out, or up in this case. So it's like I'm doing this kind of move. I'm coming in and then doing a little circle that way. But it's so small that it looks like the hands are just going up and down. So the hands coming in just a fraction. See, they just open out back to shoulder width and then relax all the way back down. Now in the form, of course, we travel on into another movement from there. You only do the posture once when you're practicing the full form. When we're learning this posture though and doing it repetitively, you'll do the same thing at the bottom. You'll drop your hands down, and again, we don't want a sharp edge, so don't come boing, don't bounce off the bottom. That will create a sharp edge, cutting your flow. What we want to do is, again, so slightly, really, really slightly, your hands will curve inward in this way, but so slightly that someone watching will barely notice that that is happening. Okay, so I don't want to come back next week and see people doing the posture like this. This is not the movement. It is up the center, down the center, up the center, down the center. There's just that little tiny curve at the bottom and the top to take away those sharp edges. Now, something we do in the beginning of our Taiji form with movements like this, you see, Taiji is extremely complex. At the same time, it's extremely simple. So what I mean by that is once you know it, this concept of moving, when I'm doing my form, I don't have to think about any of these things that my body is doing. I don't have to think about moving from my center or moving every single joint in the body. I don't have to think about opening and closing my spine and moving my scapula, changing the yin-yang state of my wrists, timing my breath. I don't have to think about any of that because I've been doing it so long. It's like walking. It just happens, right? For a baby, walking's really complex. Like, wait, hang on a second. First, I've got to shift my weight, and then, shit. And they stuff it up, don't they? Because they've never done walking before. So it's like, oh, okay, I got it. Yep. Oh, that works. And they figure it out. So it's the same when you're learning something new as an adult. You just don't fall over as often. It does happen though. So when you're learning, you're thinking in your brain, hang on, I've got to do this, got to do this, do this. If I tried to explain to you every single thing that's happening in my body when I do these postures, your mind would explode. You wouldn't be able to handle it. So we do the form in a much more simplified way. Meaning the only thing I've told you to do, to focus on, is breathing and lifting your shoulders up and timing the wrists with your shoulders. So that's manageable. Most people can get that. and make it feel quite calm and good. However, with a posture like this, it can still feel, even if you're beginning, you may still feel like, yeah, I thought Tai Chi was more about moving the whole body though, because I feel like I'm just moving my arms, you see? But then I don't want to tell you, okay, you got to twist a bit to the right, shift your weight to the right heel, twist a bit to the left, push your right fingers forward, retracting the left. There's so much happening in that posture. When I do it at a more advanced level, it's not just up and down, but that's too complicated. So to bring in a full body movement, to allow your whole body to move in postures like this, you can do one simple thing. As you lift your palms, and this should be timed gradually with the movement, just like we timed the wrists with the shoulders, just let your body weight transfer very slightly from your heels as you lift up into the balls of your feet. Not so much that you feel your heels lifting, just a gentle pressure change. Then when you go back, of course, you'll feel that weight sink gently backwards towards your heels. So that pressure change is not more than maybe 20% of weight shift backwards and forwards. But just that small amount changes it from feeling like I'm just moving my shoulders. Now my whole body is moving. It's a very simple whole body movement. But the thing is, just by shifting my weight, my entire body has to engage, because I have to stabilize that movement. So although I'm not thinking move the center, move the spine, move the hips, I'm not thinking about any of that other movement. But all of those muscles are starting to learn to engage because the weight's shifting. If you shift the weight, the rest of the movement happens naturally because you stabilize the body. And of course, simply by breathing, if you breathe correctly, you breathe deep down into your belly, push your belly out, then your ribs here will inflate out to the sides, and then your chest gets a slight little lift on the top. Your whole body is opening and closing. It's pulsating with the breath. So this is how we understand whole body movement, even though we're not thinking about whole body movement in terms of that aspect. Okay, what you're going to do now is, we're going to do the next move, but I want you to treat me like a mirror as we do this next movement, okay? So imagine I'm you and you are looking in the mirror, which means if my hands go this way, your hands go that way. It means I'll be doing the reverse side to what you're doing. So my left hand will be in my center, your right hand will be in your center, and vice versa. So use me as a mirror. You're coming down off that posture. You're going to circle your hands out to one side and then circle them over to the other side. Okay. Let's try that again. So we assume we've just come down off that first movement. We'll try the same side again. Bring your hands out to the side, lifting them up. The palms are going yin. And then sweep them up and over and settle. See how they kind of just sink on the end. Now we stop that posture there. That's called Ang left or Ang right, depending on which side you're doing it on. Of course, in the form, that just continues through and into the next movement, but we learn it in broken down bits so that we don't overload the mind. So my left, or my front, I'll just call this my centered hand. I won't say left and rights because otherwise that confuses you. Hang on, do you mean your left or my right? Because we're doing it on opposite sides because I'm your mirror. So the hand in front of my body is coming up so that the palm, not the wrist in this case because the body's turning, but it's more like here, sort of around the fingers. The fingers are roughly in line with my center, the center of my body, okay? So in other words, I shouldn't be, putting the hand somewhere out here. If you turn your body, okay, you turn your body a little bit to one side as you sweep out to that direction. There's your center. Your center has turned. So my hand is sort of here, like your fingertips are in line with your center when you do that movement. Like so. It will vary. It's not an exact math as far as if your finger is there, or, as in the tip of your finger, or the first knuckle, or the second knuckle, or the third, it can vary, but it's some things in Tai Chi are given as like a hard rule. You must do this. Other things like this, I'll always say, roughly on your center line. So that means don't chuck your hand, over here, but one time maybe, because exactly where this hand is will differ depending on exactly how far you turn your waist to the left or the right. So if I turn my center just a very small amount, maybe I'm moving a bit smaller today. It's not a right or a wrong thing to turn, 10 degrees or 20 degrees, for example. So if I turn a very small amount, then when I lift the hands up, I would say there, it's kind of like my big knuckle, my first knuckle is on my center. But if I turn my center a little bit more, it feels awkward to bring this across my body and still keep that knuckle on my center. So now it's more like the fingertip. So this is just something you'll gradually learn to feel for yourself. Now notice that when we transfer from one side to the other, there is still a circle happening. So we've got a circle happening here, coming up. But when it gets to the top, it doesn't, just moving so I don't whack my chin-up bar, it doesn't continue on the exact same circle, otherwise the hands would obviously end up right up here. You're noticing there that the hands are not going that much higher than my own head. But nor are they doing this, you see, and going flat across the top. There is still a bit more lift, a little curve, a curve from one side to the other. So when I lift my hands up, see a little more lift. The palms are passing as, again, a rough guide somewhere about my own facial height. That's about how high they come up. And then they sink back down to shoulder height. So again, a rough little guide there. Lifting up over the left to about shoulder height. Once they reach shoulder height, the center starts turning back the other way, passing through about facial height, and then settling back in to shoulder height again. So in order to make that happen, you are still going up, but there's also a little bit of forward. If I do the movement sideways, see the hands are moving out to the side. But as I come up, notice how the hands moved a little bit this way. So it's like the circle's kind of on an angle, you see. So if I do it straight, stay on that circle, the hands are got to go like that. But if I do too much forward, the hands come here and then they kind of stop and it makes a clunky flow. So it's up to here and over and sink. It usually just happens very naturally anyway. Just throw your hands over and just let them drift across in front of your face and over to the other side. Notice that, of course, the center line is turning to move the hands. So I'm turning my center one way and then turning my center back the other way. Let's try that the opposite way. So we're going to go the other way now. For now, we are breathing in as you lift your hands. You don't breathe in here. That's not lifting, is it? Because that's sort of like the curve off of the previous movement. When I lift, There, when the hands start to lift in the air, that's when I breathe in. All the way over. There's that little sort of teetering at the top of the breath moment. And then as the hands start sinking, that's going to be your out breath. Now, it's a very short movement there for your out breath, but that's because in the form, that movement will continue into the next movement, still with that out breath. So essentially, when we're learning it now and we're not doing that second move, we breathe in, and then we breathe out. So it's a very long out breath for such a short movement because we're simply not doing the next movement. Let's try that again. Breathing in. Breathing out. You'll notice there's a very slight weight shift when I'm turning to my right. Did you do that? Yeah. If I'm turning to my right, my weight's going in my right leg. If I'm turning to my left, my weight's going towards my left leg. Okay? So over this side, over this side. But it's very subtle. Just like what I said about the front to back weight shift in the first posture, the second posture it's really more of a pressure change in your feet. It's not a shifting of your weight like this, such as we get in following postures. It's just a little pressure into that heel and a little pressure into that heel. Okay, so it's a subtle weight shift. So just push your weight across. Turning your center line, your whole center line is turning, not just one part, like not just your shoulders or something, your whole center line, so your pelvis moving from your hips is turning your entire center. Later on, there are certain postures where your hips might turn a certain way and then your upper body twists further, so you get a spiral through your spine. But we're not looking at that right now. Reset. In breath. Out breath. Let's try that from the beginning. We're going to do it alternating sides, starting with the first movement. So we'll start up and down and then going this way first. So this will be your circle. Remember, I'm your mirror. Then we'll go the other way the next time. So in breath. Out breath. In breath. Out breath. Relax your hands back to center. Bring your body back to center. Same thing again, opposite side. In breath. Remembering to keep those palms parallel to the floor. Don't let them race ahead. So see how subtly my weight is in my left leg right now. Look, there's 50-50. That's where I was. That's how subtle it should be. Only you really can feel it. Someone watching, unless they really know what they're looking for, they wouldn't even notice that you've shifted your weight. Okay, it's just a little bit of pressure. What's the time? 51. Oh. Okay. In breath. Out breath. Right, let's do it again. And we'll go that way this time. In breath. Out breath. In breath. Out breath. Recenter. Extra little tip when you're coming down off that last move. Remember I said about curving things off. We don't want sharp edges. So in the same way we put a little curve there, when we were doing this movement repetitively, we had to put a little curve kind of this way. But now, of course, we're going into the next movement, so the curve is different. You're coming straight down. You don't want to do this. See that? It's like a square. We don't want square edges in Tai Chi. It's all curved edges. So instead of going all the way clean back to where you started, click, then turning to the side, just before you get there, like literally just before you get there, you're going to curve off that edge into the next movement. So you're coming down and whoop. So you're just there. Just and then over. Boom. Let's try it another couple of times. I can't remember which side we did last, so we'll go that way. Curve it off. In breath, little weight shift over to one side. Turn your center, little weight shift over to the other side. Recenter. Same thing again. Curve off the edge. Let your pressure go over to that side. Swing it over to the other side and breathe out. One more go each side. Recenter. Same again. Taiji, Bagua, Qigong. Well, any kind of good movement really should not be rushed. The amount of people that I see learning Taiji, and I say, oh, how long have you been training? 3 weeks. Oh, great. How much of the form have you learnt? The first 2/3. What? And then they show me their form, of course, and it's just horrible. They're just, just like they don't know, they really haven't learnt one movement yet. So the form should be learnt very slowly. I learnt, similar to how I just taught it then actually, that's about the pace that I learnt the form. Between 1 and 2 movements, depending on the complexity of the movements, between 1 and 2 movements per day. And sometimes not every day either. Sometimes, in the next class, we'd revise those movements from the previous class. So the more movements we learnt, the less we would add on in the next class because we had more movements to sort of correct and, enhance. So yeah, that's the sort of speed that you should be learning the form. You should be taking a whole class, like a whole 1 hour class. I mean, that was maybe, I don't know, 35, 40 minutes, excluding the warm-up, as far as on the form itself. But I hope that from that class, you feel, you're not just like, yep, cool, nice, got the structure right. I'm hoping that from that class you got the structure right, but you also felt a little something. A little, ooh, that's different. That's something different than just general physical exercise. So you're feeling a little taste, at least, of that internal nature of Tai Chi. So as I said before, that class, well, I suppose that class would have worked for even a stark beginner. I'm talking about someone who's never done anything before. But normally in my own, if someone came to a start class, as in you're learning the whole system, normally the first class would be some qigongs, some warm-ups, bit of push hands, bit of bag striking, things like that. The actual form, I don't usually start people on the form until they've been coming for 3 or 4 classes, something like that. But everyone training here, at least all the people live, you've all been moving to some degree. Even Sanya, you've not been doing this form, of course, but you've done you said you're doing Japanese sword fighting, I think it was. So you're used to movement, you understand movement, you understand flow and center. So you hopefully shouldn't feel too out of the box kind of thing. Right, where's my camera? All right. So, any questions?
Yes.
Typical. Dagmar's
thank
always
you.
got a question.
You're talking about the structure. When I'm lifting my arm
Yes.
between the arms.
Say that again. Everyone just froze for 3 seconds.
Oh, okay. So if I do this movement,
Yep.
do I have to keep the distance between the arms?
Yes.
Okay, that is what you mean with the structure. So I have to hold the structure here to move this
Yes,
way.
that's a good question. I'll just answer that with a little bit of movement while I'm here. So you've got one main thing really is this sort of distance. Again, ish. It's not like a rigid bar kind of thing, but roughly that sort of space between your hands after you've come down. I'm maintaining that distance, that space between the hands as I'm turning my body. So I'm not letting, this happen or this happen, things like that. However, one arm is bending a little more. If I stand maybe if I stand this way, the arms are a little bit bent to start. And as I start to move, the hand which is in front of my body is a little bit more bent than the hand which is out from the body.
Yeah.
You see there? So this is, it's not like out here. You see, it's a little bit more bent. This is a little bit more extended. So yeah, essentially it's like this kind of thing, one arm goes out that way, not to this degree, of course, but yeah, one arm bends in, the other one kind of extends outward. Then, of course, when we go to the other side, this arm's going to retract inwards this way, and the other one extends outward to the side.
Okay.
Sorry.
Can I ask, Eli?
Of course you can.
I think I could probably fill up the next hour with questions,
Yeah.
but try and keep it as simple as possible. First thing, you use the terminology yin hand.
Yeah.
Am I right in my problem thinking that from a martial point of view, you can hit with either a yang hand, not a yin hand as an absorbing hand and a yang as a striking hand. Too simple?
Let me see if I got that. Your sound is a little bit on and off, so I missed a few words there. But I think what you said was, Fran's just knocking my camera over. I think what you said there was, in the form, we have a yang hand and a yin hand. But in fighting, it doesn't matter about the shape of the hand. It matters about the energy of what the body is doing, which means whether that hand is yin or yang. Is that what you said?
You could hit, come into my camera, you could hit with a yang, or you could absorb with a yang, or you could with a yang, or you could absorb with a yang.
Yes. Yes. So as I said, yeah, it's like, very basic understanding. So usually in the beginning, okay, yeah, up, that's kind of more of a defensive action. So it's a little more yin than bah, than releasing out, more of a yang action. So it's a really simplified way of thinking about it. Essentially, as you know, there's always yin and yang within everything. Yeah, you don't just, everything's not just yang and everything's yin. So, for example, I can have a yin hand, and it is a receiving yin hand, such as in maybe single push hands, for example. But then I can also have that same receiving force, but with a yang-shaped hand. So there's just a little bit more kind of intent and direction from the wrist, even though the overall posture is a yin receiving movement. It still has this element of a bit more yang within the yin type of thing, whereas a yin hand and a yin back is a bit more on the yin side. There's still some yang because, of course, the other side of your body's still going forward and the legs and all these other aspects. There's always that yin and yang. And then same with a strike. If I'm doing like a bah like that, that's a very yang strike. There's still yin because the other shoulder is pulling back and absorbing at the same time. But if I strike with the yin palm, I've now got a yin shape, so the hand is softer, the hand is yin, although the body is yang. So yes, I think what you said, to answer your question, yes, I agree with, pretty sure we're thinking the same thing.
A second question, which is, as you were coming round and the rear hand with the yin hand, and I'm trying to do this in a way that I can exaggerate. Here's my yin hand, here's my yang hand. My yang hand, and I'm going over the top. It looked, and I wasn't sure whether that was right or not, it looked like the wrist died. In other words, about there to there, I couldn't seem to get any motion.
Yes, that's good observation. Okay, watch my wrist.
Hold on, can I just bring you up on the big screen?
So here's the wrist. No, not that wrist, the other wrist. Here's the wrist coming up. So it's going from, in my special Tai Chi chair position, going yin. And then from here, which you can't see because it's horizontal to you, the hand is moving this way. Yeah, so when my hand comes up, this is the kind of thing which, now you're not a beginner, right? You've been training Tai Chi for longer than I have. So you're noticing, these are good things for you to be talking about. For a stark beginner, I wouldn't want to tell them, oh, you've got to turn your fingers 1 inch to the left and then it's too many details for them to get. So it's better just to, just clunk it over there. Even if that does mean there's a little bit of a dead movement sometimes, it's okay because the rest of the body has a nice flow and, they can only manage so many things at once. But essentially, when my hand lifts up there, if I exaggerate, just so you can see on the camera, my fingers are kind of a little bit that way, which is yin and yang, but also yin and yang. Lateral shape, yin and yang. So your hand is both yin on both accounts, both axes. When it's coming up, it's yin. But when it comes across, it stays yin on the vertical axis, but it goes yang on the horizontal axis. So it's come in. So there's always movement within those wrist movements.
The plane of evidence. You're changing the plane of movement rather than... Yeah,
exactly. Yes. Yes. Good questions. I'm sure everyone else benefited from those questions. How did you find that, Sonia, compared to the Sansao?
I find it very enjoyable. Thank you very much. We all went very quiet. It was very kind of withdrawing, wasn't it? I want to ask you sorry, I've got the echo. The legs, are they always in the, what you call it, natural or neutral position with the pelvis tucked in?
Yes. As in for those postures that we did?
Yes, so they're not
Yeah.
straight, are they? They're slightly bent with the pelvis tucked in a little bit.
Yes. So, like I said at the beginning, the pelvis is tucked, but not tucked in terms of, like, you know, I don't know if it's the same in what you do, but when we say like tuck your pelvis under, that normally means flatten your lower back so that you've got a straight back, right?
Yeah.
You can't tuck under that far, at least most humans can't,
Yes.
if your legs are straight.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you are engaged, you're tucking, but there will be still a little bit of a S in your lower back. On the next movement in the form, that's when we properly bend the knees, then your pelvis will go fully under.
Great. And what about your elbows? Or do you keep your how far up do you keep your elbows and shoulders? Is it just natural kind of relaxed position of the shoulders as you move?
Yes, the basic rule of the elbows for when you're starting is you are a puppet and you've only got strings attached to your palms. So the elbows are hanging, right? To do this, I'd need a second string attached to that joint. So if you imagine someone's lifting your hand up, your elbow's hanging down. But that does mean, though, the string, the puppet string, in this case, most puppet strings can't do this, but the puppet string, if I relax my arm, but if I rotate that arm, the elbow will come up, but it's still got that hanging down sensation to it. So in other words, we should never be doing a movement like, for example, here, and now it's like the elbow's lifting above here. It should still feel like the elbow is hanging off the end of the wrist. That's the general rule throughout the form.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. How did you find that 4475? I've forgotten your name. What was your name?
Paul.
Paul. All right, Paul. How did you find you're getting back into it after 20 years?
Yeah, it was great. You know what
Fantastic.
I mean? It was yeah, I like the thing where you just learn the two moves because you're not having to learn too much. I mean, so the two moves I can practice that all week, and then next week come back and then just add the next moves on and stuff.
Yeah.
Just find that easy because I think when I done it last time, I think we was learning maybe 3 moves in a week or 4.
Yeah.
And I found it a bit too much.
Okay.
Because my brain is very slow.
Yeah.
I just just a little. So 2 moves perfect.
Yeah, excellent.
But yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm glad I'm getting back into it because when I used to do it, when I used to leave the gym, I felt like I'd run a marathon. I felt so energized. So it's very the health benefits. I felt very good after it.
Excellent.
So,
good.
So yeah, you may see a lot more of me, I think.
Good. Hopefully we'll see you out at a camp at some point out in Malta too. Come and get some real training. Because I mean, I'm loving these online classes. I think they're working really well, especially when there's this many people joining live, having these questions and answers at the end of the classes and physically training along. It's so much different than me just recording a video and sending it to you and you just watching a set video. It really is better like this. But of course, nothing compares to being with your teacher and with your other students in person, because we can do, not only is even the form part better because you can feel that person a little more, well, a lot more actually, but obviously you can do all your partner exercises when you come to physical classes. So, yeah. Sure. But for me, the best benefit of these is not just the fact that you're learning a lot, but it's the fact that when you come to a camp, now you can get the most out of that camp. You got a week of training, 6 days of intensive training, rather than coming to that camp having had no input from a teacher apart from watching a static video, like a set video. And then you come to camp and I've got to correct some really basic mistakes. And we spend all the time doing that and correcting form and qigong and things like that. Whereas those of you following these classes, you'll find you'll come to camp and I'm like, well, I've already corrected all that stuff in the online things. Now we can spend much more time doing the partner exercises, or even if it is form-based or Qigong-based, we can be going into the really little intricate levels of what you're doing with your body. Like quite often I'll be doing a one-to-one class with someone, and I said to someone the other day that your form is as perfect as I can get it on video. I can't, you know, it's not perfect, but on a screen, low resolution, it's a bit glitchy kind of thing. It's like, okay, there's something in there that's still not 100% right, but I need to see you in person to be able to go on to that next step. But to be able to get it to that point, it still looks fantastic on camera. That's a great achievement. And then we can spend the time in person on that more detailed stuff. So, yeah. All right, guys. Well, I've got to get up at 5:30 in the morning, so I'm going to go and chill out for a bit with Fran and then go to sleep. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Class tomorrow is 7 a.m. And this was our last evening class for the week. Yeah, so we've just got Friday 7 a.m., Saturday 7 a.m., I think, and Sunday 8 p.m. So 8. What am I saying? A.m. All a.m. 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday. I've had a long day, seriously. And 8 a.m. on Sunday. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Everybody.